Yeah, that's right. You can do that. It's always good. One thing that really helps when you do that, when you merge sets, is not just to introduce them, but also presumably, at least the first girl, you've talked to her about various different subjects. So when you merge her into the new set, you can be like, oh yeah, this is so and so. Like this is Sue Young. She's going to. She lived in like California for a year. How about you? Have you ever been to California? And now you've got like a jump off point for them to like have a little conversation.
Right.
And now those two can start talking about California or just like general travel and shit. And now they're off. And then you're kind of your job, it can be done to a certain extent, especially if you merge her into a set where there's more than a few. So then you can do that, and you can leave her with the obstacle in the new set, and you can then work the target in the new set.
Yeah.
Was that pretty clear?
Yeah, that's understandable. You basically take the info she gave you and use it so that she can occupy the target. So that the target will be interested in talking to her while while the obstacle is interested in talking to her while you isolate the target. Yeah.
This chick I'm running text game with is, I told her I wanted to meet her. I'm running the cube on her.
Okay. All right, which chick? You need to elaborate a lot more, man.
Starbucks chick. I number closed, and I haven't been able to meet because of her schedule. She's still pretty keen though.
Oh, right, the tall one who spoke English, who lived in San Francisco.
Yeah,
okay,
pretty good looking.
Who wanted to bring her friend?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But we could never work out.
For those of you, the rest of you guys who are listening in, he met this girl during the boot camp. This was actually the first set that he opened on the last day, before we got to the seminar portion. So he had to eject after he time bridged the number closer, but the time bridge didn't stick. Is that right, Mr. Wright?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Now, see, that's the way you got to explain it, so everybody can now be on the same page.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
All right, so go ahead.
So I've been running like this text game on her. She stopped answering me for a while, so I told her I want to meet her, and she just started answering my questions again. And she just kind of ignored my last comment about meeting her.
Okay. So what's your question?
So yeah, I'm just wondering like how I should approach her. I just ignore it, or like say it again.
Okay, so one thing is that whenever you're doing the time bridge, so all you said was I want to meet you, right?
Yeah.
Now the thing is that instead of just telling her you want to meet her, because what would you be expecting her to do if you tell a girl I want to meet you? What do you expect her to do then?
Tell me when she's available.
All right, now if I say, hey, Mr. Wright, I want to meet you.
Yeah.
What is your response going to be?
When?
Right, exactly. You're going to ask me when. But the point is that you had to even think about that. What would I say next?
Yeah.
Instead, whenever you're trying to time bridge the girl, you should always give her dates, times, places, activities, something specific for her to like latch onto.
Okay.
It's best to invite her to something.
Okay.
Like in your case, I mean, since you live above like the most famous yakiniku place in Osaka. Oh, by the way, for those of you in Korea, yakiniku is what is that? It's like just
barbecue?
like yeah, Korean barbecue. What do you guys call that in Korea? Korean?
Galbi.
Kalbi?
Kalbi.
But it's not only kalbi because they got like beef tongue and like they got all sorts of other parts too.
Well, kalbi means barbecue.
Well, does it?
Yeah.
Really? I think in Japan, like, it refers to a specific cut of beef. Anyway. Okay, maybe I'm wrong about that. All right. Whatever. So anyway, so you could be like, hey, I don't know, did you see that with her before, the yakiniku, Mr. Wright?
I think so. It seems so long ago now. I'm not entirely sure what the seed was. Yeah, I think it was. No, the seed was to meet in Umeda for shopping.
Awesome, great. So now where does she live, by the way?
She lives like near Umeda area. around there somewhere.
Awesome. Great. So then all you're going to do is you're going to be like, oh, I heard that like this place in Tsudahashi is like the most famous yakiniku place. I want to go there. Why don't you come?
Okay.
Why don't you come with me like sometime next week? Now you can even throw in an exact date or days. You're familiar with her schedule somewhat, right?
Somewhat, but it keeps changing.
What does she do?
She's a student.
Okay, well that means right, okay, like similar to my girl. The girl last night, remember the one that I was trying to meet?
Yeah.
Last night. Okay,
she
so
when she takes exams, like, and she passes an exam, she has to take another exam or something weird shit.
right, okay, cool. Then it's Monday now. Why don't you why don't you send her that email and see what the response is? And probably her response will be like, oh yeah, like because actually what you said is, hey, have you ever been to this place? I hear it's really good. So she can respond to, no, I've never been. And then you can at least know that she's keen to a certain extent. So start from there and see what happens.
Okay.
So she may so that you're giving her an exact thing to do because you're asking her if she's been. Blah, 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 have you been? I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about going next week. I've heard it's good. And now she can go, no, I've never been, but I've heard of it. Or, no, I've never heard of that place or whatever. And then from there, then you go and set the time bridge. Okay?
Okay.
For those of you guys who are listening in, a time bridge is a time in the future, a date. That's what people would usually call it, a date, but we call it a time bridge for various framing reasons. Just to leave it short. Anyway, okay, great. Was there another question from anybody? Okay, let's talk about birthdays real quick. So Sunday, I'll elaborate on what he said happened. So he didn't know it was he forgot it was her birthday, and the way he found out was he saw like some hair accessory, and he asked her where she got it. And at this point, she was like, oh, I got it for my birthday. And this is probably when the alarm bell started ringing in Sunday's head. And I know that feeling. Oh shit, it was her birthday. Now then what happened is then he logged on to an online sex shop with her to buy a present. Apparently she didn't appreciate this very much. So he said a couple of weeks later, he felt that she'd become kind of distant. And he started asking her what the problem was. Long story short, she has a couple of things that bother her in the relationship, and his birthday thing was too much. Okay, now, let's back up. First thing is, you never want to ask a girl what the problem is. Because then, what their brain does is it comes up with a list of problems. Which is not what you want. Because the fact is that what she tells you her problems are, you're going to logically solve what you see as being those problems, and then you're going to be like, what's wrong with her? I solved those problems. Why is she still complaining? Generally speaking, whenever you have relationship problems, it means that the girl doesn't feel that she's cared for enough. That's pretty much every relationship problem revolves around that. You want to know why it is or how it is that guys can have multiple long-term relationships. I mean, even if you're in an exclusive relationship, right, there are issues where girls feel like maybe you're not giving them enough attention. And I'm sure you guys have some experience with that. Have any experience with that with your ex?
With the ex-wife, yeah, that was exactly how she felt.
Right.
And I tried to solve the problems logically and rationally, and that didn't help at all.
Can you give me an example of something that you tried to do to solve the problem?